songs, from tributes to diss records, but we don't really know exactly who Tooka is. So today we really want to talk about, who exactly Tooka was to you and how everything, took place. So, Tooka's from South Side of Chicago, right?
Yes.
Okay, and
He was originated from the low end, 49th Calumet, 49th Prairie, up in that area. That's where I was raised at.
Okay, and I listened to you speak earlier. You said you were a single mother?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And how many kids?
4.
Okay,
4.
so it was just wow.
I got to 4. I have a 1-year-old. So,
okay,
yes,
congrats.
at the age of 46, I'm raising a 1-year-old.
Okay, so at that age, well, let's say a decade ago, you're raising 3 kids at that time.
Yes.
Okay, how were you making ends meet?
I've been on my job now that I have for 14 years. I work for CPS. They say when you love something, it's not a job. You know what I'm saying? So
it's a hobby.
Yep. Exactly. I got a hobby and I get paid for doing it because I love dealing with kids. I deal with autistic kids, special need kids, blind kids, deaf.
Tooka gets killed at 15 years old. Now, were you guys close?
Yeah, real close. Everyday
Okay.
friends.
Okay. So, like, at what age did you and Tooka really become friends?
Like, he was like 14. I met him a year before that. No, it was like 2 years before that. It was like 2 years before that, before he got killed.
Okay. So, take us back to, I'm gonna say 2010. Tooka at this time, he's in school. Take us through them days. How was Tooka at that time?
I could take you back to when we first moved around on St. Lawrence, where they named the block and the gang after him. Like, when we first moved over there, it was, it wasn't all peaches and cream. He would walk to school to get on the bus. I would walk him to school, to the bus stop.
Every day?
Yes, before I go to work, because my bus base was right around the corner from the house, so I made sure him and his little sister got on the bus. And I go my way and go on to work. And I remember one day we standing on the bus stop and the little boy inside the parkway was standing behind the gate talking smack to my son. So I'm looking at him, I'm like, first of all, you have no respect for me standing here as his mother. Why you talking about what you gonna do to him and stuff like that?
So wait, not to cut you off. You were there when you seen this?
Yeah. When the boy approached him, yes, I was at the bus stop with my son. Like, I was a pretty much hands-on, no matter my job. I was a pretty much hands-on mom with my kids. Like I said, I was a single mother and I was all they had besides my grandmother.
What exactly he said?
Oh, he said, you coming from over there, St. Lawrence way, you must be one of them niggas, that and the third. We just moving around here. We don't know nothing about what's around there. You know what I'm saying? And that's what made me want to walk them to school, because I wanted them to be safe. I always walked them to school and stuff, even when they was little kids. And I'm just standing there looking at the little boy, and Tooka telling him like, man, you not finna keep cursing and stuff like that in front of my mama. Nigga, I'll knock you out in front of your mama. Who out the lane? talked to Tooka, calmed him down, the bus was coming. I put him on the bus, he went on to school. On the way home from school, I couldn't get to the bus stop in time because one of my kids' parents wasn't at home. So I didn't get off of work at my usual time. And I just remember my daughter just running down the street. She was so snotty. She was about 8, 9. And she just was red as ever. And she just was crying, they jumping on my brother. I can't help them. They jumping on my brother. I'm like, I had to run all the way, to help my son. All because he wanted to go to school and get an education. They thought he was coming from somewhere he didn't even know about. Then when he walked from King Drive to over there, then they thinking he coming from O-Block. Like, it was just crazy. It was just crazy, but I stayed on him. You know what I'm saying? Like, when I felt like things getting too out of hand, his wrestling coach was a good friend of mine. We went to school and we graduated together. And he came to me. He said, I see something in him. Let me work with him. You know what I'm saying? So he had people, you know what I'm saying, that steered him in the right direction even when he wanted to go wrong. You see what I'm saying? So when he got kicked out of school, got me working for CPS, I had connects because one thing I was always taught, you can't make it in this world without no education.
That's right.
So I was real strict on my kids getting their education. So when he got kicked out of school, I went to my, connect that I had or whatever. They helped me get him back in school. It was like,
Do you think your son was gang related?
was he gang related? No.
You don't think Tooka wasn't in the gang?
No.
So you don't think there were things he was participating in that you didn't know about?
And now, when I see how big his death is, it makes me wonder, what was he really doing out here? You know what I'm saying? But I knew what went on in my household. I knew what went on in his friend's household. You see what I'm saying? I was one of them parents, if my child in at home at a certain time and I know where they at, I'm going to get my child up out that house. I done knocked on plenty of doors. I done walked down plenty of soles of my shoes walking these streets for my kids. I never, ever been one of them ones that played about no game at all when it came to my kids, because I did enough of that for them. So I'd be darned if I let my kids get out of these streets to go, you know what I'm saying? But again, when I was out there in these streets, we had structure. You see what I'm saying? It was rules to how we did things back in the days. These kids, they don't got no structure. They don't got no remorse for nothing they do. Back in the days, it was women and kids was off guard. If they was gonna go do something, like y'all go in the house, we finna do up the whim. These days, it's innocent babies. Elder people who ain't got nothing to do with nothing. Like, it's just different.
When y'all moved to St. Lawrence, you said you noticed that people started to pick, well, I don't want to say pick on your son, but he was targeted.
Yes.
And you feel like that's because they thought he was into something that he wasn't really a part of.
Exactly. Exactly. Like, he knew how to fight. I ain't gonna lie, he was cold with them hands. And if he felt like he couldn't beat you, he had a pocket knife this big. He gonna pull that knife out and try to poke you. But 9 times out of 10, he didn't need that knife because he had these. You see what I'm saying? Like, violence was in my house. I had a big mom, I had a big daddy. Although it was just me and my grandma raising them kids. You see what I'm saying? They never lacked in anything as far as attention or none of that. So when we moved around there and I seen my son become a target, I had my grandma start coming picking him up. After that day, I had my grandma start picking him up and taking him to school for me. He was going to Park Manor. And they wanted to fight my son so bad.
Who was that?
Some boys from the school that he was going to, that was part of, 71st Street, somewhere over there by St. Lawrence or somewhere. Now they thinking he in some stuff over there, he just going to school. But they had wanted to fight Tooka so bad. They actually tried to open my grandma's door while she was in the car picking them up to try to snatch my son up out of there. Yeah, so, I mean, this stuff about him being this killer and all this stuff, my baby ain't never been even arrested. He don't even have a record. So, I knew what my son was doing, but this death stuff of his, and because how can I put it, how uplifting they is of his name, all of a sudden, what was he really out here doing? Is all I could wonder. Because for him to be 15 years old and be this much, then love so much, like.
Speak on Tooka, people think it's a blunt, or you know, smoking on Tooka is like a
strand of weed.
It's like a strand of weed. Did you give him that name, Tooka?
Yes.
Where'd the name come from?
We shortened up Attitude. And then it was my nephew that I used to love when I was pregnant with him. His name was Buka. So we got a Buka and a Tooka.
Okay. Now, Doug pays homage to your son, right?
Yeah.
And then after that, we get, what's the first ever diss record that you remember?
Chief Keef's song. I can't remember which one it was, but they had played it on the radio. And my little cousin called me screaming, hollering, they got him on the radio. I'm, what? What's going on? Turn the WGCI. And that's when I heard it. I never, even, you know, they say Duck, you know, was the first one, but he did it in a positive way. I haven't even heard that song yet.
Okay.
But Chief Keef's song was the first song that I heard diss my son on WGCI. And I had been calling them trying to, you know, my little cousin heard this, then who else done heard it? He got family out here like in real life. So they put me on the block list, stuff like that, to keep me from calling and telling them stop
Who put
playing.
you on the block list? The radio?
Somebody did.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you were calling them what, every day?
Every time I heard it, me and my family members.
Wow. And they blocked you?
Yeah, then they started trying to offer me free tickets and stuff and like that. Like, I don't want that mess.
Yeah, you just want the song taken off the air.
Yeah, that's all I wanted.
Oh, man. So, you hear that song, and then you hear all these new songs coming out with your son being mentioned in these different records from different artists. What are you thinking then? Because it's not going away. It's just getting more popular over time.
And that's my thing. Like, my son had nothing to do with nothing in this rap industry. He didn't know how to probably even beatbox, let alone to bust a lyric for a rap. You know what I'm saying? Like, and for him to be disrespected and mimic his death, They the ones. My son wasn't about that lifestyle. They the ones who's making him famous and blowing him up like this because they can't stop saying his fucking name. One rapper here, some rapper said, then now he go wanna say it. You don't even know my son, but
what we know Chief Keef did the first record, but what other artists do you think keep your names, your son names afloat over time?
Dirk, Vine. I done heard one of these, I forgot what rapper it was. It's one of the upcoming rappers that just sang, well, he's a popular singer or whatever, and I done heard him say my son name in his song like, huh? If I'm not mistaken, I think it was Drake.
Yeah, it was somebody that wasn't even, it got so big, it was bigger than Chicago.
You hear me? And he only 15. He was a kid. They made him a legend.
If you had to speak to Dirk or Chief Keef personally, a real sit down like adults, what would be your message to them?
I just want to know why. Why? That's all I have to ask them. Why? What have my son done to y'all to make y'all, disrespect him like this? Every song they make, it's got we smoking on Tooka, fuck Tooka this, fuck Tooka that. You know how long my son been gone? Since 2000. I don't want this lifestyle. He didn't want this lifestyle. But he can't be here and be his voice, so I'm gonna do it for him. I'm just gonna get it out there, the disrespect, to stop. Not only for my son, but for all the dead people. How could you kill somebody, knowing somebody killed somebody and cause grief to another family and mimic that? What's funny about that?
Absolutely. Do you still listen to rap music, or are you burnt out?
I never listened to that drill music stuff. I never listened to it. None of it. I'm an R&B person. I like slow jams, blues, dusty, stuff like that. That's why. Only reason why I know about Chief Keef no music, because my daughter listened to it. You know what I'm saying? But me personally, I don't listen to it.
If you don't mind, can you take us through that day where, your son was murdered in 2011?
Like I said, he had got suspended for school. I'll go get him back in school. He had got into it with a teacher. So they sent him home. My daughter was there because she had a doctor's appointment. So she was gonna leave kind of late. But she like, come on, Tooka, we gotta do woo-woo-woo. I'm like, Tooka, what are you doing now? I'm telling him, come on, son, you gotta go to school, walk the way, woo-woo-woo. He okay, Mom, I'm going to school. I gotta walk around to the bus stop, walk the way. He went and hid until she left out. He went back up to the school because he had a wrestling match that day. He loved wrestling. That helped him let out so much anger You know what I'm saying? So that's all I had to do. That was my last. That's all I knew. My son had left out the door and went to school. That's all I knew. So he had called me at about 6 something when the wrestling match was over. He was standing on the bus stop on 63rd and St. Lawrence. He called me. He was just so filled with enthusiasm and like, yes, I done did it. You know, he was proud of what he had did. He called me and say, Mama, I did. I won my wrestling match. I was like, good, son, come on home. I was seasoning the chicken. I'm telling him, come on home, son. So that's all I'm waiting for is my son to come through this door so I give him a hug and feed him real good. And we're going to talk about his match. Somebody else had other plans. The detective called me. He say, is you somebody's mama? And I'm like, yeah, that's my son, because he had the note inside his pants pocket that was sending him home. He said, well, we want to call you and let you know there's been a shooting and he's been involved. I'm like, okay, so I'm thinking to myself, because me and my child's now father, we had got into it because he felt like I let my kids say anything, because him and Tooka had got into it. He told me I let my kids say anything. So we got into it about that. He was the one who had to come get me, to take me over there to the scene. So he say, you think, you know he got shot? I said, yeah, he okay. We gonna get there, he gonna be okay. And he couldn't do nothing but look at me crazy, like he knew my son was gone. So I get there and I'm looking for him. I'm thinking he in the ambulance, because that's the first thing I see in the street. I got off the phone with my son at 6:04. I got a call at 6:12. My son was dead. So we get over there to the scene. I'm thinking my son in the ambulance, but how he land, and all I see is this white sheet. I'm not thinking that's my son under that white sheet. I'm thinking my son in the ambulance. The police trying to pull me back and stuff, but I'm steady trying to get to my son. My whole body just went numb. I had to bust my chin, bust my elbows, everything. I know that till 2 weeks later, but when I saw my son laying on that cold ass ground, I knew I gotta get over there to be with my son. It hadn't even dawned on me that he was dead. I just knew my mother's intuition just kicked in and just say, go get your child. Put your child off that ground. If he see you, everything gonna be okay. My son to get up off that ground. They tried to take me away on the scene. Me and my family, we stayed there because Everybody was out there so long that the concrete, because he was, half his head was on the concrete, the edge of the curb. And the other half was not. He had laid there that long that the concrete print had got embedded in his head. And took them people 6 hours. 6 whole hours to come and get my baby out them fucking streets, man. And that's the last memory I have of my son. He down there for a long time, and how long the bus gonna be? Like my son looked at him like, no, it's coming though, it's right there. Soon as the bus got to the stop where my son was, the boy had shot him one time already. My son tried to throw the garbage can to try to get the boy up off of him. And instead of him throwing the garbage can behind him, he fell down on the garbage can. So he just stood over my son and shot him 5 more times. Then they say it's a mistaken identity. How was my son death a mistaken identity? If you shot him the first time and you see he wasn't who you was looking for, why keep shooting? Police been sending me on the runarounds. They say don't nobody want to get him no information because he's this powerful person that they want his people from over there want they revenge for themselves, which a bunch of bull. Then I call again. Now the detective that was working the case ain't working the case no more. Now they got this new detective working the case. Like I call to talk to him, he ain't in. Well, he on vacation. Like I still haven't got justice for my son's murder.
You know, in Chicago, all around the world really, but especially Chicago, there are thousands and thousands and thousands of parents who are going through what you're going through right now. What do you think it would take? And I know it's such a broad question because we talk about it every day, but what do you think it would take? I mean, of course, violence will forever go on, but to stop the gun violence at that rate that it's at now.
Get involved in that kid's life. Stop trying to be that. That's one thing about me. I never, ever portrayed to be my